Good morning, St. Maarten. What's cooking? A chat with MP Bun Camper. Today is our 75th episode, April 24th. Let me start off with Carnival. Wow, what a week. I think that's the nicest I could put it in using, just a few simple words. What a week. When you look at the program we had last week, I think with exception of the rhythm and blues and hip hop concert, it was a great success. The road match and the band clash, that was wonderfully done. And there's always going to be who should have won and who didn't win. At the end of the day, we have judges, people, and they made a decision. And the winner of the road match had a great song, Carnival Mass. And Carnival Mass beat Baby, Carnival Baby. That was the toss-up in the road match. And the minister of VSR, they call him the minister of everything, and he proved himself Thursday night with the band clash. Oeasy and the TG band won the band clash and represented St. Maarten on Saturday in Flag Fest. And I want to take off my hat and congratulate the TG band and their organization for putting on a show on Saturday representing St. Maarten to the fullest. I taped the whole show of the St. Maarten presentation by the TG band, and I put it on Facebook with a congratulatory remarks, because this isn't politics. This is a band representing the country going out and doing what they had to do, represent. So once again, congratulations. Now, when you look at the shows of Flag Fest on Saturday and last night, Calaboom had, 78 Inc. had Flag Fest on Saturday, and I believe it was Calaboom had Bacchanal Sunday last night. And I'll tell you something. The Village has seen its two biggest nights back to back, but I believe Bacchanal Sunday topped it off last night. I think they had 10,000 plus in there. I mean, it was humongous. I didn't see any incidents, so I was very happy for that. I know you always have a little scuffle here, a little scuffle there. People drink too much, people say the wrong things. But I'll tell you one thing. It was a spectacular weekend when it comes to the Saturday, Sunday. I'm talking about Friday, because that Friday show, that was one problem. I don't know what it is. Maybe people are tired of the hip hops, or the price was too high, because I think it was $85 and $65. It became quite expensive. But let that be what it is. Maybe next year we can put back Power Soca and do something that is more fitting for Carnival. Because hip-hop is not part of Carnival. It never was, it never will be. So, what we got this week coming up? Got tonight, if my calendar shows me it right, we got Youth Extravaganza tonight. I mean, the youngsters gonna go up there and put on a show. And believe you me, the young people do have some good musical, how would I say, expertise. Because I want to highlight King James. I have seen that young man now perform twice in the Village. He is next level. That is epic. He just needs a contract with any recording label, and he will make it to the world stage. Let us make no mistake with the ability of King James. We need to get some serious promoters to take care of this boy and give him the future he deserves, because he deserves a much better future than just our stage. He is made for the world stage. Believe you me when I tell you that. I am not an expert in everything, but I can see talent sometimes a mile away. And this one, you can see it 10 miles away. King James is the real thing. He is really the real thing. So come out tonight and support the youngsters, because we always say, oh, the youth is the future. Well, come out and support them tonight. Don't tell them what they be. Just come out and support them. Tuesday night, we're going to have Creole Fete. I don't know which bands are playing, but I know Wednesday is the night in the village. There's Calypso finals going into Juve. That's how we always had it. And I'm so happy to see it this way again. So that we got Calypso and the Calypso King. We're moving into Juve on the streets on Wednesday into Thursday morning actually. And then Thursday night, for all the Latin lovers, we have Noche Latina. That's when you gotta go in there and be careful. Tie your hands so you don't touch. And cover your eyes so you don't go blind, they say. Noche Latina. That's when the village got her heels on gravel. Friday night, we have an entertainment. I can't read it so good. It says the Two Brothers Entertainment Concert. I can't tell you what it is. Saturday though, epic night. That is Mr. Rude in his 10th anniversary of Hitmakers. And I can tell you, I see Destra on the lineup already, so I no questions asked. I will be there. Saturday is the night of the Hitmakers, so come out, support our local promoter, because Sunday we got a king and queen of the band competition. So while they're doing their thing on stage, we're going to be doing we thing by the booth too. Monday is the grand parade. So I will not be having a show next week. Monday, I'm going to say it from now. It's the grand parade. I want to go out on the street, film, and send as much info, of the carnival to the shut-ins that can't come out, and those that have to work. At least there's something they can see live as it's going on. Tuesday is second day parade, so second lap. And Wednesday, we close in the village with the burning of the Momo. That's how it looks like for the next 8 to 10 days with Carnival in St. Maarten. So let me do a thing and let me really, go out and support the booth holders, support the troop holders. Listen, Carnival is we thing. Don't let nobody take that from you. All you gotta remember is when you go out, behave yourself. You're not there alone. It ain't for you alone. It's for all of us. So at least we got that piece out of the way. Now I want to just, since we're on the topic of Carnival, I still want to touch this issue of youngsters in jump-ups. And I know Juve is coming, and I know it's nearly uncontrollable, but the parents, you got to take a more active role. I started jump up myself, and there were a lot of youngsters behind the two bands. The problem is, they're drunk or they're high. Now, there's nothing wrong with jumping. Nothing wrong with even thieving a lower cup. But you gotta be able, at 15, to do that sober. Without having to pop pills, or smoke weed, or drink alcohol. Because that's what's happening now. And the Prime Minister is in her full right, and I support her 100%. That's not the way to go. Because it only entices violence. At the end of the day, that's what happens. And it destroys the human body. Because your brain is still in full development. So Prime Minister, kudos to you. I know we always see eye to eye and everything. But on this one, I support you 100%. I think you made the right call. You came out publicly with it. And you challenged the parents because they have to take a certain responsibility too. It's not only the government and the police got to clean up when children misbehave. Parents need to step in too. It's your child. It's not the government's child. It's not St. Martin's child. It's your child. You conceived that child. You were part of the process of that child as a father. So take your responsibility. And don't tell me, oh, he bad, I can't handle him. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You're his parent. Now, a lot of things that I'm going to be talking about in the notices, and I'm going to add on one at the end just now. But you see, that fire in Windsor Road, this is something that we used to have a problem with when I was in public works too. So I'm not going to just throw it out at the government and say, oh, no. The reason it used to happen was when the hauler don't pick up the garbage in time. The people down there then just set it afire. They used to set afire the big bins that we had because we didn't used to pick it up on time sometimes. But you couldn't pick it up because they used to throw garbage in front of it and block up the whole place. Because behind there's a lot of garbage being produced, but not many bins being placed on the inside of KB. So they want to put all the big bins down by the main road and everybody walk down to the road. Some people just throw it on those open lots, and that's what creates this thing. But you cannot let it fester because those are health issues. So I hope we have it cleaned up as fast as possible, because I saw another newspaper article last week that the burned garbage was still at the location, and that, yes, shouldn't happen, because that's really a big problem for everybody. Hygienic, and it doesn't look nice at all. Now, I noticed that we are having a lot of cyber attacks on our internet providers locally. We had the French side, then we had Coral on the Dutch side. And my question is, what really happening? After the GB cyber attack of last year, what has the country done? Because now I have to address the country. What has the country done to prevent that our communications keeps coming under attack? Is it that we don't have proper security on the systems? Look, I'm no expert in telecommunications, and I'm not going to pretend to be one, but maybe the director of the CEO of TLM or BTP or Flow, somebody could come out and say something, explain the population what's really happening, and how can you protect yourself against these type of things. I mean, again, if they can take the whole internet down, they cripple in the country, they'll cripple the banking industry. So it's more than me. You don't have WhatsApp or Facebook, you know. It goes much further for the country. For the country, even your safety and security, it can be put on the line if you don't have proper telecommunications, because all radios are down, because repeaters were hit. You know, look, it is maybe time that a better explanation is given than just a newspaper article stating, oh, this one was hacked, and oh, this one was hacked. We got to get something more, because I know Dauphin on the French side was crippled for days. So again, it's important to find out what it is and what can the public do to prevent something like this. I gotta say, congrats to the St. Joseph School for winning the kite competition. I really enjoyed seeing the kite competition come back. I grew up many years ago, the Haircut show, and kite flying, spinning top, marbles, running the tire. Those were wee things. Nowadays, you know, it's all this electronic stuff, and hey, we move on with times. But I enjoyed that we went back to the old days and we were flying some kites. So congratulations to the two youngsters from the St. Joseph School that kept the kite up there the longest and had a beautiful kite in the air. Congratulations. Now, yeah, let me not worry about it. I was going to talk a little bit about the hip-hop show and why it was cancelled, but I think let us leave it where it is. I think the first two school boards received feminine hygiene napkins from Teen Times on a previously introduced period poverty project, which helps school-going girls with feminine products for menstrual reasons. Now, these products are quite expensive, so the Teen Times has picked it up here and is running with it now, and I'm very happy to see that. This was a program that District 60B of Lions, Leonie Shell Abreu, started sometime back 2-3 years ago and introduced it here. I think she's also a member of Teen Times. Introduced it here, and it has really found a home now with Teen Times to continue pushing it. I think that's what it's all about. You know, partnershiping, finding the right organizations to do something, because while in St. Maarten it is a problem already. What do you think it is in other countries where there's much less money in circulation by families? You know, so these are products that a lot of children cannot afford. And they will just simply do without it, or just simply not come to school during the period that they have these menstrual cramps, etc. So again, very happy to see that this project is still alive in St. Maarten. I know it's also alive here in Barbados, in St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Jamaica. I know those countries still have it ongoing. So I was very happy to see that it's still ongoing here. Let me congratulate the President of the Collectivité of St. Maarten, Mr. Mussington, for his 1 year in office. That was about 2 weeks ago. But more importantly, for all the things that he's getting done, especially that school that they are building down in Cul-de-Sac for 34 million euros. You know, when you see these things happening, then you know you're moving forward. You're not going to get everything done overnight, but at least you're seeing in his first year, he has been able to accomplish things. And if he rolled them out of the pipe from the previous government, at least he's adhering to that one critical norm: continuation in government. Because too often, a new government comes in, they throw out everything the old government was doing because it wasn't their plans, and they start from scratch, and they never finish nothing. That's a disease we have very often here on the Dutch side. Now, you know what I found interesting? I saw an article where they believe that there's gas between Curacao and Aruba. Being so close to Venezuela, there is nothing wrong with such a thought. And I believe there's a company that already made some 30 or 230 million available to do the research. They want to drill and see what it is. Now, if they strike gold there, if they find gas there, that will change the livelihood of the people in Aruba and Curacao nearly instantaneously. Because the money that those governments will make, they don't even need to look anymore at the Netherlands for any help. They'll have enough, they'll be able to pay off their debts, and they'll be able to enrich their families and their country and move on. So it was a very interesting something, because we own 22% of the Sabre Bank. We know for a fact that there's gas on the Sabre Bank, because when they were drilling for oil some 35 years ago, they struck gas in Sabre on the bank. And since gas seems to be the in thing today, because it's the cleaner fuel compared to bunker C, or heavy fuel as we call it, why we are not doing anything there as St. Maarten baffles me. It just simply baffles me. Holland owns 78%, but we own 22%. St. Maarten, country St. Maarten, owns 22% of the Sabre Bank. And why we are not contemplating in collaboration with Holland, because there's nothing wrong working with them. All they're there, they want to make money. So let's join forces and make money. Politicians want to go fight politics, go ahead and fight. The people in St. Maarten, they're willing to make money and enhance their livelihood. Get off of this stupid minimum wage into a livable wage. You know, have a pension when you go on pension. That's what St. Maarten people are interested in. Not about who could fight who and who could scream hardest to who in the Netherlands. That's not relevant anymore. And I'm going to get to that just now, because there are a few things that don't match up anymore as we going along. Now, CFT told Curacao, fix your budget by April 28th, which is sometime down this week, Thursday, I believe. Otherwise, they're going to have to give instructions to the government in the Netherlands to put most probably an instruction on Curacao. The Minister of Finance in Curacao does as he believes is best for his country. and does not care what the CFT is saying and will not follow the instructions that CFT has given. That's what's happening right now in Curacao. And by extension, partially also in Aruba. They have decided they're not going to do certain things that CFT is saying they must do because it will harm their country. So let's see how that turns out. I'm not going to tell them that playing rogue is what it is, but again, there are a lot of things going on around us that we seem not to be paying attention to too much. Now in the airport, for example, I'm going to get to it in a separate piece, but I just want to touch one piece. What's happening to Audrey Jack? Every time the suspension is being extended. Now, either you have something and you deal with that, or you're busy fabricating something. Because if by now your forensic team from Curacao that you're paying hundreds of thousands to couldn't figure out who wrote what or who sent what, then they should be fired. To start with, it was an MP. He told me, oh, retract the statement. I ain't retracting diddly squat. You said it. You sent it to him. But that we're going to use for elections. Then we're going to put up on screen what you sent. You see, in this IT world, I've learned anything you write on your phone, consider it public. Anything you say on your phone, consider it public. That's how bad it is. I can recall Captain Leo Chance told me once, he said, if you don't want people to know your business, when you want to tell somebody something, jump in the sea naked and talk to them there. Nobody gonna hear you. And you know, it might be the truth when you see what all is happening here. But I really want to know, because today I'm going to be discussing some very dubious things that are happening with the request for proposals and the concessions. I want to know if you can blame Audrey Jack for me getting that information. I wonder, because your pants gonna fall off today, brother. Take it from me. When I done, maybe your Dutch friends gonna come and visit me and ask me where I got it from. Let me tell you from now, I found it on the street. I was walking, doing exercise, and I saw something that said airport, and I read it. And today we're going to talk about it. So all this nonsense with Audrey Jack, government isn't even asking a question. We just suspend people. We just let it go, let it go, let it go, hoping that people will forget it and move on. I hope that the union representing Ms. Jack takes this to courts. Let them come in courts and say what they got. Show what you got. Because this is just abuse of power. This is a man feel that he can abuse the woman, so he gonna show you power. Be careful, son. They say bounce back marble. Just do something. But it is clear, it is crystal clear that this is a personal witch hunt from Brian Mingo to Audrey Jack because she called him a jackass. That's it. No more, no less. She didn't write no airport sagas. You know it, I know it. There's another one going around now that goes in details about certain people's behavior. I'm not going to read it because I don't think I want to waste my time on that right now. The WhatsApps are doing a good job. They're spreading it all over the place. I want to use my show to expose that nasty behavior of abusing a woman. Because that's what you're doing. That's a mother and a wife of a family. If you had everything on her, because you sent her home now, going on 2 months, if not more, why haven't you taken action? Because you're going to continue to try and fabricate something. Be careful. Now, you can remember this whole district cleaning contracts? So a lot was being said, and a lot is this, and a lot is that. The one thing that nobody seems to want to touch with a 20-foot pole, not a 10-foot, a 20-foot pole, is the national decree. I have asked it publicly and asked it today again. Did Dr. Eugene Holiday, as governor for 12 years, implement it wrong? That when you tender and you are going to sign off contracts over 50,000, that you must be mandated by a national decree. I need to know if that was done wrong for 12 years, because that means myself, all the other department heads, all the SGs, all the former ministers were all fools. And we all did it wrong. Because the same minister, last year under Eugene Holiday, signed the national decree for the garbage collection. There was a national decree signed. I believe it was September of last year. Just before the governor went on retirement. And today, we just signed off the contracts without a national decree. And nobody says nothing. Not even the governor. And that is how you get question marks. And that's when you start to question the integrity of the process. Because that's what it's about now for me. Something is dead wrong. That for 12 years you had to do it one way. It was not a request. That was no request. That's the way it was. That's how the process was. And today, the process says, oh no, come can approve it, and the minister can sign off. The minister can sign off a contract, a civil contract between them and a company without the governor having the opportunity to do the checks and balances, because that's what the governor does. The governor checks the work of the government. That's what he and his cabinet always do. That's why he's also in Constitution, part of our government. He's also the chairman of the Council of Advice. The governor is not a ceremonial governor. He's a working governor. Because if he don't agree with your national decree, he sends it to the Netherlands for what we call vernietiging, destruction. So again, this begs to question, why is nobody saying nothing? Now, PFP has asked for a public meeting. Now, in that public meeting, it's going to become very interesting, because I want to make something very clear. SOB reported their findings. They did not make an advice. They did not give an opinion. They reported their findings. Now, how those findings were being interpreted by the ministry and the government, that's a second question. And I'm sure the public meeting will reveal what needs to be revealed. When I spoke, because some people called me about this thing, and I tried to remain as neutral as I can, they asked me, so we're going to have the same stupidity as we had with the garbage contracts, where along party lines they're going to protect them? And I said to them, you know, politics and politics in St. Maarten, unfortunately, are the same. We don't look at how we can solve a mistake. We look at how we can hide a mistake. And that's unfortunately right now. Because too many people have lost all trust in the government. And even if you don't want to support the government, you still must be able to trust the government. At the end of the day, they work for you. You don't work for them. Your tax money pays them. That's the only thing. So I hope that we get a good indication on what's really, really happening, because I know the last words haven't been said on this yet. And as we continuously go deeper into the year leading up to elections, you're going to notice that even in the coalition, they're going to have a tango. So again, let's see what the law says. Let's see what the experts are going to say when they really look at this, because this will not go under the rug anymore. It has gotten too much attention. I'm sure the Ombudsman has gotten a plate full of information from various contractors, and they will start to look at it. And then we will see, because they'll have to send all the information to the Ombudsman for review, and they'll see where it goes from there. You know, another thing I didn't understand, and I need to ask this. How does this work with board members and government-owned companies or ZBOs? Is it that you have to apply for it? Is it that you have to have certain qualifications for it? How exactly does it work? Because in some companies, they're just appointed. Other companies, you see applications. So, what is it? Are government companies different in structure? Because I think one thing all of them should have equally is corporate governance. And corporate governance should be also running how board members are appointed, their qualifications are reviewed. It can't be so that you're good for this position, but you're not good for that position, or your expertise isn't good here, but it is there. And it's the same type of company, you know? And this is what I'm saying. Clarity needs to be given a little better. Because we have had this problem with board members, where board members are being appointed, being friends, being family, being all kind of things. Again, I think Corporate Counsel said a lot about that. Corporate Counsel wrote about it. Oh, Corporate Counsel against us. Oh, Corporate Counsel is not against you. They're an independent body, and they are trying to give an as good as possible advice. The problem I have is that the advice isn't binding. The advice should be binding, so that the politicking stops. The only time that there's any chance of politics would be when the names that have been vetted are sent to the government for a choice. Because you don't send one name, you have to send at least two names. And then they can make a choice. But both candidates would then have been vetted and found fit for that position by Corporate Counsel. Then you have something to stand by. Then you have integrity and transparency at work. Anything different to that? Let's not use the word transparent, and let's not use the word integrity. Maybe it's legal, but don't use those two words in the sentence. That's all it is. Now, at the front page, I gotta take the paper there. Dutch Quarter sewage spillage is a cross-border issue, residents say. Now, I'm not going to delve into it too much today. Last week, Thursday, the minister and his staff went to Dutch Quarter. And I'm going to delve into it next 2 weeks from now. I'm going to explain you a little bit of how that is down there and what's really happening down there. But I'll say this much. You can lie to the people some of the time, but you cannot lie to all the people all of the time. That is the message that the residents gave the minister and his staff that were down there. They're sick and tired of the blah, 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 blah. You're sitting there for 3+ years, sir. You cannot blame the former government anymore or the former ministers anymore. You are sitting there. You have to solve the problem. The same way I told Minister Anna Richardson that she can't blame previous ministers anymore because she's the one sitting there. At least she soaked her blows and brought the police saga to a decent closing. It's not finished yet, but everybody now has a little more comfort and trust in moving forward. With you, you just go down there, you talk some crazy nonsense that you have no clue about. You have absolutely no clue how sewage works. That's crystal clear. You ran your mouth about how you're saving a lot of money by taking the contract away from down at the sewage plant. And why you tendering it out now for? Why you bidding it for? Because you can't do it. I told you this before. Not because you sit in the seat of the minister means you have a clue of what's happening. You don't. You really, really don't. You're an IT boy. Go play in the IT world. Leave real work to big boys. Now, 50 cents is going to be increased on the bus fares. And I know it is well deserved for the bus drivers, and I'm not going to debate that. The problem is the fare is across the board the same for the kids and the seniors. And yes, they take a seat on the bus. So you want maximum income for the seats on your bus. And this is where I believe government should have looked at it a little different. Yes, I am going to give you that. But we got to find a solution for the seniors and for children. A mother with 3 children having to pay $3 a bus fare per person, that's $12. You know what you're enticing? A gypsy. Because for $12, a gypsy gonna also run. And we gotta be careful with this because we keep complaining about the gypsies taking the work. But when it becomes too expensive for somebody to afford, a mother with 2-3 children, and the fares, they went up with 50 cents and the one from $2 went to $3, that means that it becomes quite expensive for a parent to do this. Even if you're working, it is going to become very expensive now because the rate, people can say, what's 50 cents? 50 cents is $1 a day going and coming extra. You work 25 days, that's $25 extra a month. And for a fellow that's making $5,000, why man, $25 ain't gonna kill you. For some person that's making $1,700, that $25 makes a big difference. A big difference. So don't underestimate. The buses, you don't find many middle class or upper class in the society on the bus. You find the lower class. And when I say lower class, I'm talking income here, people. I'm talking income. Minimum wage earners. Those people are the bus users most of the times. So, we got to be careful and understand the trickle-down effect. For the buses, it's a must for them to stay on the road with the prices of gasoline, the prices of insurance, the prices of tires, parts, everything went up, not by 10%, but nearly 20%. If you look 10 years ago to today, it's crazy. The increases, they're significant in that sector. So yes, the 50 cents, it helps. Will it close the gap? I doubt it. I sincerely doubt it. But at least the minister made a good step. What I would have hoped for is that there would have been a solution sought for children and seniors on a bus. And for that, I do have some ideas. They're not fully worked out yet, but when they are worked out, I will forward them to the minister and ask the minister if he's interested in looking at this subsidizing system in the bus industry, transport industry, for seniors and children, where government can then play a role. So at least I think it's a good something. So I hope we reach someplace with it. The steering committee for the trust fund approved 3 new projects: the housing project, the waste water management project, and the mental health project. Now let me be clear. The housing project is a project with the St. Maarten Housing Development Foundation. It was a project that I think they had allocated $25 million for 2-3 years ago. Remember in Parliament, they were talking about 45 million. That was 45 million guilders. It was $25 million. And the Housing Foundation was to go and build social homes. If you all can remember those days and play back the videos, the government did not trust the St. Maarten Housing Development Foundation and did not want that money allocated to them. Today, Vineyard Heights failed. Hope Estate failed. Now suddenly, they go get money? Now the St. Maarten Development Housing Foundation will get money? And it ain't not 25 million anymore. It down to, I think, 12 or 14 million. Because it took money, give to the hospital and to the airport and all them that needed a little extra. It came from there. So you see, this is my problem. We play games. We lie to people. And because elections are due and we need to show something, we get these type of games. They talk about the waste water management project. Which one is that? Because the one on the books is in KB. That is the one tied with the French side where Marigot and the surroundings will send up about, I think it's 15 or 17,000 inhabitants water to KB, and the other 18,000 will be from KB, Colby, the surroundings, so Billy Foley and those. So before the bridge, let's put it so, before the bridge, to that area for processing. And the government bought land, I believe, behind GB and KB to build this plant. Or that was the location, and I think they bought the land by now. So that's the money we're talking about there. And then the mental health, they bought a parcel of land, I believe it was in St. John's Estate, and the home, the new mental health facility will be built in that area. Those are the 3 projects that have now been approved there, but they mean the money given already. Yeah? That is just being approved. They said that they're going with it and they're busy, with the housing. They're going to finalize the project design and activities with the goal of creating a blueprint for sustainable and affordable housing. I know who's doing that. No need for names, but it is not the government. It's the St. Maarten Development Housing Foundation and their consultants that are doing that. Like I said, up until today, we have no social homes. I can recall, I'm going to look for the post now. 1,000 homes the leader of the UP said was going to be built during their term. Their term is coming to an end. Not one. Not one has been built. The repairs in Belvedere are from the trust fund, not the government. The government was going to do house roofs. I think they did 8 or 15, maybe 20, I'm not sure. But nothing that was promised when it comes to housing foundation, housing vision, was done. And don't tell me, oh, we had a pandemic, because the trust fund money had nothing to do with the pandemic. Absolutely nothing. It was there. But yeah, what can I say? Up until today, $2 million the courts made available to the government of St. Maarten to do sewage works. A line and a plant was placed at Melford Hazel with a pressure line to the Carnival village where it's connected onto the main line of government. About 500,000. 1.5 million is floating. Phillipsburg still, with that money, cannot be fixed and put on the line. Dutch Quarter, where sewage is running every day, because they went and connect all the houses up in Oslo Drive and all those places, Quilter Drive, without connecting it to the main line. And I said connecting it to the main line because that was supposed to go down to the new sewage plant that still ain't working. This is the problem. Dutch Quarter has a completely new plant with lines, not everything connected, not everything working, and then the old system still pumping. That's what's happening. 3 years now that going on. Going on 4 for sure, because it was building when I was still working. It was building when I was working. And I gone for 3.5 years already. So it shows you what's going on. I'm not going to delve into the police saga anymore. I think there's an agreement has been reached. Officers went in, I believe, yesterday to sign some letter. The letter is not clear to anybody. I haven't seen the letter, so I'm not going to debate the letter. But payment was made. I think the first 25% was made. And the other 25%, they had to sign off on how that was going to be done in an agreement that was reached with the ministry. I spoke to one of the officers last night that I know for sure is in the know, and he told me it's okay. They have breathing space right now, so give them a chance, and I will honor that. I will not be delving into the police saga today, nor will I be pointing fingers or calling out anybody. I don't think there's a need for that. If there's a solution found and we can move forward, then I would love to be able to say congratulations to all. I am not sure if that is valid at this point in time yet. I see some people on the live right now that might know. So I hope if I see a thumbs up, then I know we are in the good direction. So let's pray that that we have something going good. But what I'm going to touch today is the airport using tactics to exclude the local business people from getting concessions, including the ones that had. Now, I don't want this to surprise all you. What I'm going to say, I hope it don't surprise nobody, and I hope the PGIA management don't act all baffled. Oh, how is that possible? How do you know that? Where do you get that from? Please. In St. Maarten, nothing remains in the dark. That's crystal clear. And information that has been reaching me now is that the airport is executing a strategy of deliberately keeping out the local businesses from participating at the airport for the concessions that were now in the request for proposals. Now, when I say locals, people that are established here 30, 40 years as companies, if they're Indian, they are local. I am not going to say, oh, no, he's an Indian. No. If you have been there for 30, 40 years, if you were there under the days of holiday, and then you were there with Regina, because Regina, when she was the CEO, she created a departure hall that became the envy of the Caribbean. A lot of people could say a lot of things, but she did that. Now, a lot of people invested millions in their stores. I know there was a store had 900 square meters. Walking through, up there you gotta walk through. And guess what? I think they invested $2-3 million. Today, That change. They're telling them, no, no, no. You can get a quarter of the space. So I gave about 200 and something square meters. And you have to make do with that. And if you don't like it, you can go. All the people that had concessions up there, they are cutting their space size downwards. And they're telling them they have to invest about $250,000 each in the shop. So to make the shop look better, nicer, whatever. Not in the structure. Not in the blueprints and the architecture. In the shop itself. So all that other stuff is going to be added on again. The problem is this. A lot of people that invested back in 2012, 2013 have now found themselves in a problem because when the hurricane destroyed the airport in 2017, some 5 years later, 4 or 5 years later, they did not recoup their money. Especially those that invested millions. They did not recoup their money. It is my understanding that the former CFO, Mr. Daranani, and the former COO, Mr. Hyman, gave the concessionaires a letter of comfort that they would return when the airport is rebuilt. Now suddenly, the sitting management, Mr. Mingo and his team of musketeers, 2 Dutch boys, one he brought from Telem and the other one came from Holland, representing Schiphol, the CFO. Up until today, we can't get a local CFO after 3 years of contracts with Schiphol. We can't get it. They're now saying, no, 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 no. We're not going to honor those letters. We have a new plan. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do that in the airport. All kind of things we're going to do. We even have a casino and a pharmacy, which he himself wants to keep, I understood. But the bottom line is this. People that had a concession, you can't just take away the concession from them. They invested money. That you fired Michael Hyman, that don't mean that what Michael Hyman signed when he was the boss isn't valid. Because there was nothing wrong there. I wonder what a member of parliament that has a concession down there going to say. Let's see if you're going to put the tail between your legs to keep the concession, or you're going to stand up and talk for the people of St. Maarten. He's the chairman of parliament right now, right? So you better get up and open your mouth and tell the truth to the people of St. Maarten what's happening. Or you're going to just stay quiet and hold on to the little piece of concession they give you. Because that's what's going on. You all got to understand that it's going totally out of whack. At the airport, you have concessionaires that are branded already. You got a place where they sell bread, it's branded. You got a pizza place, it's branded. How they going to put $250,000 in an upfest in the store? All of their stuff is there ready. It comes as part of the store. What are you going to put? Marble floor? Marble counters? I mean, what is it that you all are trying to do? Why create these things when there are concessionaires there that have been faithful all this time to PGIA when PGIA was not faithful to them? Because PGIA did not do their homework and finish that airport. We are now going into the 6th year. September will make us 6 years, and we still don't have nothing. So I don't know. Now, I understood that there's even a NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, so that none of this comes out. But guess what? They don't know. I talk about it. I didn't sign no non-disclosure with nobody, so I don't really care. But the concessionaires are getting frustrated. And they're starting to talk. Because some don't even have the capital anymore to invest what the airport is asking for. So the airport then is going to look for new concessionaires that are cash rich and push out those that were there that invested their money. And that is wrong. That is wrong. That's not the way you do business. That's not how you work on a corporate level. But then what does that little fool know about corporate? Never was there, never should have been there. I just hope that all of these things are now going to be looked at. I know there's a new managing director for the holding. I hope he looks at it with a different pair of glasses and sees the fake and the hypocrisy that's happening at PGIA. I hope he sees it. And I hope he deals with it the right way. Because knowing somebody and being somebody's friend is one thing. Running the country's infrastructure, that's a different story. That's something that takes responsibilities. That's something that demands that you act when you see wrong. And there's a lot of wrong going on at PGIA right now. And I truly, truly hope that this is changed and changed fast. Because if we don't do this, we are going to get ourselves in serious problems. We have a group of anti-Samaritan people down there, including the CEO, that have no good for the local concessionaires. All kind of wheeling. I have said it before, that the CEO will do whatever he has to do with his concessions to ensure he gets his contract extended for a year. I have said it before and I'll say it again. But I'll go further this time. Because when his time in St. Maarten is over, he gone. He gonna join the Schiphol group and they're gonna put him someplace else because he did what they told him to do for 5 years down here. So people don't like it. People say, oh Lord, don't do that. Don't do that. Check who will be on the next flight when the time is right. I have a problem with us destroying our own for personal gain. I have no problem that you cut a deal here, you cut a deal there, no. But don't destroy people in the process. You get an opportunity, you want to give it to your wife, your brother, your sister, your mother, God bless you. But don't destroy somebody to create that opportunity to give to them. That, yes, I have a problem with. Maya, it is what it is, and I'm sure when all is said and done, we're going to see who got a casino, we're going to see who got a pharmacy, and we're going to see what deal was made for that merry-go-round that some time back they were dismantling and brought to the airport. We're going to see who getting the concessions. That's all I'm going to say for now. But if you think I'm done with it, I want you to think again. Because this ain't done. A lot of information is given to a very specific group of people that you dine with very often, sir. We know that too. You think you're one of them. You're not. Those boys and girls came to the airport, saw a jackass, and will ride it until they finish. A Petit Committee was formed to gather information on calling an independence referendum. And I know it's, when you read the press release, it says that the Constitutional Affairs and Decolonization Committee selected members for Petit Committee to gather information related to the possible calling. So not that it's going to be called, but possible calling of a consultative referendum on independence. And 4 members were appointed: Mrs. Duncan, Mrs. Heiliger Maarten, Mrs. Gums, and Mrs. Rumu. And they got 4 weeks to gather all the information that is, relevant to hold a consultative referendum to see if St. Maarten wants independence. So the question is a yes-no question. The problem is, for me personally, that a yes-no question will not be answered the way some people hope it will be. I am pro-independence, but this country is not ready for independence. Not now. Am I going to answer the referendum with yes, no, with a yes? Absolutely not. Because that will be misused. Because there's no time frame and nothing set with. And please don't tell the people, no, once we know if they want it or not, we're going to work it out. That's utter nonsense. Because that's the dangerous tool that you now give, that every minute somebody's going to jump up and cry, but the people want independence. But under which conditions do the people want independence? You see, again, at least when I speak for the Now Party with the leader Emmanuel, we made it very clear. Nation, opportunity, and wealth. When this nation is wealthy, the opportunity to become independent will be coming forward. But as long as this nation is not wealthy and its people are not wealthy, why in God's name talk about it even? That's the difference. So I don't know what's going to come out of it. And again, everybody have a right to their opinion. So do I. And others speak on it on their radio shows. I will speak on it on my podcast. I think when it comes, if the referendum comes, I will be vocal on how I see that referendum. I will be vocal on what I believe the dangers can be if it is not clearly defined what is meant with the vote. The vote has to be defined. It cannot just be a yes, no if you want independence. That it's not that simple. Independence is not that simple of a topic. But again, like I said, I have all respect for all stakeholders. I respect all of them's opinion. I don't necessarily share all of the opinions. So with that, I think I don't want to, delve in too deep into this whole what's going to happen with this consultative referendum. Let's see what the committee comes with. Let's see where we go with it from there. But I believe, and that's why I'm talking about it, I believe that you cannot just have a yes-no vote. You must define what yes means and what no means. You must define that. Because if no means 10 years from now we come back to look if we're going to do it, then hey, then I am no. If yes means that 10 years from now we're going to see where we stand and then we're going to move forward, then I can consider that. But it must be clearly defined. Define what the parameters are that we will have to meet to go over into the independence era. And if those are not met, we don't even have a prosecutor. We don't have a judge in our country. We depend on others to supply us with them. We don't have our own teachers. They come from the neighboring islands. Nurses, they come from the neighboring islands. But we talk about independence. No, you can't. No, you can't. But that's my opinion. Now, to contradict this independence request that was held in the meeting of the Constitutional and Decolonization Committee. That same day that meeting was called, the 4 countries signed the mutual agreement. Not the next day, not the day before, same day. Is that coincidence? Is that intent to send a message? You see, the mutual regulation speaks about coming together, becoming one, and blah, and blah, and blah. And on the other side, the same day, country St. Maarten says, no, we want a referendum to see if we go independent. You see the contradictory messages we send ourselves? You see why our people are too often confused? Because the Prime Minister signed an agreement to bring us together to become one in the kingdom. And the Parliament on the other side is saying, no, no, no. Let's do a task force and let's start looking at independence and what we're going to do. No. That is for everybody to weigh in on and think about. I just put them in contrast to show you that they're opposites. They're not in line with each other. So again, while we have just agreed on the mutual agreements that is binding for us moving forward, we throw in a monkey wrench in there. Let's talk about independence and maybe how we can go about it. Is the timing right? Absolutely not. But again, Parliament has its right. Parliament is not tied to anything the government does. Whatever the government does, that's what the government's account. Parliament knows its job. It knows its task. The thing is this, though. The mutual agreement. The countries commit to execute the country packages of reform and development for 4 years. And the Dutch government has made 120 million euros available. So let's say 30 million euros a year. That's about 10 million euros per country. I don't think we're going to each get 10 million. We're going to get it proportionally based on what Curacao needs, Aruba needs, and what Sint Maarten needs. We will get it proportionally in the balance we pay for ourselves. Now, remember, the reforms in the countries are already taking place. The TWO has been working and will, and this will continue, especially in the financial world, the tax reform, the economic and social area, reviewing how we can make our economy resilient, and the social, the whole social network, how that's going to work for us, as well as in education. The whole education system was reviewed, and I would believe they made a lot of recommendations where changes have to be made. I don't know if any money was budgeted to do so, because we have to pay for these reforms. The money the Dutch has given us is more for capacity building, in the sense of paying for consultants to come down here. Because in one side of their mouth, they said we cannot hire new people until we drop our wage bill, so what we pay civil servants, to the 10% level of the Caribbean wage bill, which means if your country's budget is 400 million, you got 40 million for civil servants, 10%. That's what that means. And you have to come to that now. I think we are below that when it comes to the civil servantry. Remember, all the school teachers, most of them fall under subsidized entities. You can't take all those things and then put them there too and say, oh, look, it's more. It's not fair in that sense then, because then everybody works for government and nobody works for school boards, anything. So again, this support and capacity, this money that they're making available, in my opinion, and I hope the Prime Minister and them try to indoctrinate into the minds of the Dutch that we don't need professionals to come from Holland to do the work. We need professionals to come establish themselves in Sint Maarten, hopefully Samaritans that have been living in the Netherlands, that they can come back home, like how we had one of our former governors, Frank Richards, was living in the Netherlands, came back home and took over works over here in finance first, and then eventually became the lieutenant governor. We need some of those people to come back home and help build back country Sint Maarten to the new level we want to take the country. So again, I hope really that it works, and we take it from there. You know, there was a lot said about, oh, we decide for ourselves now, and we don't decide nothing. I need to be honest. We have made an agreement, a country package agreement. We have implementation agreements that are made and signed, and they have to adhere to the schedules that we have to meet. They are done together with the TWO and the local civil servants. So I don't want the impression created, oh, we can decide when we're going to do what we want. That's not true. The difference is that instead of having 3 Dutchmen or 3 Dutch women or a combination of such and co looking over and telling you what you can do, that the Prime Minister now looks over it and guides that process a little more. So there's a little more of the autonomy has been safeguarded. They haven't taken the autonomy away from the country and put it in Coho. No, the Prime Minister is the one now that looks over this and so contains and protects the autonomy of her country or his country. That's the job the 3 prime ministers have actually gotten. So in that sense, we just need to understand it, what it is. But again, we gotta remember a few things very carefully, because the new mutual regulation, the instrument that is used for a sustainable collaboration within the kingdom, is based on equality, equity, and that's the important one, and ownership. So you got to own something, you got to have money if you want to be equal. So we're not, we are both equal as human beings, but we're not both equal when it comes to making decisions. Because if I got the money and you ain't got none, you ain't deciding for my money. This is what people confuse all the time with the Dutch. Yeah, but we equal. We should have them. Yeah, we should have. But show me your money. Show me your equity. Show me your ownership. I ain't got that. I ain't got this. Then you're not equal in that playing field. Yes, you are equal, but again, you're not equal. Equality is not necessarily equality, because equity determines that. And that's where a lot of people thought that, oh, they understood what the Dutch were saying. But I don't think they did. And now it will show as we move on. This will clearly start to show. So again, I think it's important that we understand that the Prime Minister will be in charge of the execution of the reforms. She will be the overseer. I think every 3 months they write a report on how things are going, as it is right now anyway, and they send that forward. The draft, St. Maarten, Curaçao, and Aruba each have to draft an execution agenda with the assistance of the Netherlands to make sure that timelines are met as was agreed upon. The execution agenda contains measures and projects to achieve the necessary reforms. What these are will be seen when they are formulated by the respective countries. And again, like I said, execution reports will be made. And then comes this extra piece here. In case countries cannot find common ground during the 4-year period of the mutual regulation, they can turn to an independent mediator. This mediator will be selected jointly by the Prime Minister of the Dutch Caribbean country in question and the State Secretary for the Kingdom relations. The ruling of this mediator, who needs to have strong ties to the Caribbean region, will not be binding. Back to the same old stupidity. Just like the dispute regulation, whatever they decide, it ain't binding, so the Dutch can still impose. And this is where it will go wrong. If there's a dispute, when a decision is taken, no matter where the chips fall, it should be binding. So you can move on. But if it's not binding, it means that The Dutch, whom we owe a lot of equity to, a lot of money to, can start pulling strings on us and force us into undesirable financial positions, and thus once again take control. And this is what it should not be. So you see, it is that bottom part of that mutual agreement that strengthens the belief of the independence callers. Because you are not dealing with me equally. You are dealing with me that I got the money, you don't have it, we're going to play it my way. And we're going to find a nice name for it, but that's the bottom line. And that's very, very unfortunate. But they always say, there's a silver lining in every story. And every country always has good things. APS is one of our good things. And APS has many possibilities. And I'm not going to come here now and tell you, oh, we're going to take the money from APS. No. I need you to listen very carefully. Minister of Finance, to do you good, to take note of what I'm going to say. I've been thinking a little while now already on how we can do much more locally to benefit our island infrastructure, but also most importantly safeguard our pension age and payout. So I said three things there. Fix our infrastructure, safeguard our pension age, and that is 65 years, and ensure our payout so we can get our pension when we reach that age. And this is something we're going to put in our manifesto with the Now Party. But you know what? If government feels that they can start using it from now to enhance the well-being of the people of this country, please be my guest. Because at the end of the day, for me, it's about the country and not about who do it. If I could give you something now, in the next 6 months you think you could get some things done and you want to campaign, and then you go ahead, as long as it's beneficial to the people. Because we all know where the idea came from. The only thing is I ain't sitting there right now, so I can't do it. But listen to this. I think we need to revisit the investment climate of the investment ratio of 60-40 for national international investments. There's a lot that needs to be done on island and can be done on island and can be paid back by the island. Crises on the stock markets have sent pension funds scrambling, losing big money. Our fund, thank God, had a good year. I think we're up on 105 points now, instead of the, which is above the international standards set for pension funds health. So I know we are healthy. So I'm very happy for that. But I want to give you an example. We pay a lot of money on rent for the Parliament building, rent for the Council of Advice, rent for the SER, rent for the Ombudsman, rent for many other entities, where we can take the Clem Labega Square, the old government building, and create a new Parliament building there, and 2 or 3, 4, 5-story buildings to house our high councils, to house our national archives. All these things we talk about, but we don't do them. And we pay serious rent outside. If you go to APS, and APS is an investment in investment portfolios they have. They don't need to own no land. They can invest money at 5%, over 20, 25 years and ensure that the margin, profit margin, remains above the average grade so that they can make their pensions payable for the next 25 years. In return, government gets a new parliament building, new offices. All of these things are in collaboration with APS. APS went as far as creating a fund or an agency to seek funding externally for projects. I am saying APS has liquidity that maybe we should look at by adjusting the law for the investment ratio, 60-40, maybe 80-20. That way, you kick off a project like that. And government, just like how they are paying back SNV now every month for the government building, they can go into there because they are paying rent for these other entities. You can create also in the parliament building design, because I was chairman of that committee, and all the drawings that we got when I left, I want to thank the new chair for sharing with me how they were looking at it moving forward. I gave my opinion on it, and there were hundreds of parkings that were going to be created there also on the floors in between, because the top floor and the bottom floor were basically for parliament, and the other 3 floors could have been used for parking. So again, you can do a lot there. APS has that money, so they can invest it, and the government will be paying less to them per month for the for the building that was built. So having liquidity in their hand, then they are right now paying and renting all the buildings. That's one thing we can do. We have to look at the age, 65 years. We want to maintain 65 as the pension age, not 67, not 70. And you know right now already in the reforms, they are talking about 67. And you know it will not take 2 or 3 more years before they go to what is already in Holland, 70 years. So how do we hold on to 65 for now? How do we do that? Now, we have to invest, generate revenue to be able to do this. I think we need to have an actuary, an aquarist, come in and make the necessary calculations to see if we can maintain 65 and what we need to do to maintain 65. Now, listen here. If you want to continue working after 65, I'm not saying that's not going to be an option. I'm saying they should not tell you you have to work after 65. Go and enjoy your pension if you feel like. Enjoy it. Go and enjoy it. You worked for it. Instead of working till 67 or 70 and then you can hardly walk, and now you're going on pension and you will not enjoy your pension because those little few extra good years you had, you're not... other people say, listen, I feel strong. I want to work. I don't want to sit at home. I don't want that, blah, 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 whatever. Agreed. The options should be there. Now, how do we do this? Is an actuary has to tell us what it costs and how we can get that money. Now again, listen, I just showed you that government can make use of a change of law to be able to make much more investments in St. Maarten itself. APS can also assist the government in paying back its loans, but it must be beneficial to APS. So government will have to make equity ownership of things available to APS. And as they pay back, the shares proportionally, percentage-wise, go back to government. And if you don't pay, APS could sell it, could sell that because you didn't live up to your obligations. Or APS can take over full management of it, and government, we are then just onlooker because you don't own it anymore. And we are now talking about integral parts of the infrastructure that government owns. Because government owns the airport, government owns the harbor, government owns GB, government owns TLM. Make no mistake, government owns them. So, government can use, or APS can say, with ownership of equity until you pay me back. I can help you with liquidity money I have hanging in my accounts at an X%. It can work. It's a matter of adjusting the law. That's what it is. It's not about going in and picking up the money. You don't do that. You work with them under the conditions that they feel comfortable with. Because their obligation is to ensure that APS remains at all times viable for its members. That is its job. But again, we need to ask ourselves this question. We are country St. Maarten. We have APS, Algemene Pensioenfonds St. Maarten, General Pension Fund of St. Maarten. We have government-owned companies, listen carefully to me, that are affiliated to pension funds outside of St. Maarten. Now, before 2010, pension funds in Curacao and Aruba, Curacao were considered Netherlands and Antilles. We were all one. And companies like, I think it is GB, I even think Pilem, Vida Nueva, and nothing against the pension funds. But if those people, because those are high salaries, those people make high salaries in those companies. If they were by APS, you would have made a stronger fund. Now, there's a debate. Yeah, but the payout by Vida Nova is higher than by APS. And maybe that's true, I don't know. But if that is true, that means also that the amount you pay to Vida Nova is also higher than the amount you pay to APS in your contributions. That's the only way it works. There's no magic. None of them have a magic machine making money to pay you more. For me though, the government needs to look at the possibilities of transferring those members to APS, GB, PGIA, TLM, Harbour, all of them. Those pension funds should be the local pension fund. You cannot own a company and the company doesn't support the country's pension fund. I don't understand that. I understand how it was in the past. But you know what? The past left us 13 years ago. It is time now for a transition period that they move over. I think we should call in the unions, call in the companies, and start looking at the transition to APS. I really, really believe that we need to look if the premiums are competitive, if the payouts are correct, and how we can do this. You know, look, I'm not saying it will happen overnight, but a 3 to 5 year transition period gives everybody on the table a chance to make the necessary provisions, because one group is moving from here to there. We did it with SFV. Everything used to be in Curacao, and as we went to 10-10-10, there was a transition made. And we had this over here, and they had that over there. And a division was made. In the pension fund, it's a little different because they are all independent funds. But I'm saying, as a government-owned company, I can't talk for the local business people. They want to do it in Holland, they want to do it in America. But government-owned entities, that should be different. That should be part of their requirements, that pension funds, health insurances, sickness insurances are all locally done. And if they're local companies, they get priority. Just food for thought, people. Equality as citizens doesn't necessarily mean equality in justice. Remember, we just spoke about equality with equity, etc. Well, I need to give you a little story I read on Friday gone. If you all can remember, 2-3 years ago, there was a case in the Netherlands, Richard Moss. So all the prosecutors, they know exactly where you're going right now. Richard Moss was from Den Haag Leeft. That was a new political party in The Hague. And man, they clobbered the old guard and they became the new powers. It didn't take too long. And suddenly they raided their offices, their houses, everything. Pull them out of bed in the middle of the night and tell them they took bribes and they falsified, or they granted contracts for bribes. So they give a contract and they take a bribe in return. Sounds familiar? Okay, good. We're going to get to where I'm going just now. I'm smiling already because some people might know where I'm going. They made a 15,000-page dossier on the two guys and the business owners and all that. And they went to courts and they asked, I think for the main suspect, 22 months or something like that, for giving the contracts and taking a bribe. And they asked for punishment for all the others also. The judge on Friday told the prosecutors, you all must be crazy. This is total craziness. The judge acquitted me, and that is funny. Because, crooked or not, the judge says that somebody went on a boat ride once or twice, consider that 2 happy days, 2 joyful days. But again, that you turn around and acquit them completely says something. The front page says blamage for the OM. The problem is not that it's a black eye for the public prosecutors. The problem is these people were put out of office. They went back to elections. They won again. They were sidelined. And now they win their case. Now they're fully acquitted. You see, what I am trying to get at is how the public prosecutor's office is trying to regulate who runs the country. They want to sit on the seat of the government. And then why do we have trias politicas? And the judge made it abundantly clear in his verdict. So he didn't mince no words. He said criminal law is not the tool to try to convince the courts of bribery. It's not the tool. He said it. I ain't saying it. The judge in the Netherlands said it. To go from 22 months to 0 was like Mac Mingo to go from 48 months to 0. And it's nice to say you can't compare them. But there's a convenience that they shouldn't compare. Because other things, they compare them. Crown witnesses, we compare. We call it concordancy, equality of the law all over the kingdom. Please, please, you're preaching to the wrong person then though. Because that's nonsense. If in 15,000 pages you can't find substantiating evidence, you got a problem. Then why did you take it to courts? Why did you do that? And yes, sometimes they say if it quacks like a duck and walks like a duck, it must be a duck. But it's not always a duck. And because you have that authority to take away people's freedom by locking them up to investigate them, you got to be 100% sure of your case before you make that move. We too often, we allow emotions to handle a case. And then after the fact say, sorry. But sorry cannot fix the damage that was done. Not in the world we live in today with social media. Once it's done, it's done. You can't take it off. When they put nude pictures of you on the internet, you can't take them off. They will always be there for the rest of your life, for your children and your grandchildren to see. So please, understand, it is not as simple as it looks. And that's why in the world of today, we have to be extremely cautious how we do things. Again, I listened to the Minister of Justice and Safety of the Netherlands, and the good lady said that the autonomous countries, Curaçao, Aruba, and Sint Maarten, do not want to put money into the upgrading of the rule of law. They don't want to put money in Coast Guard. They don't want to put money in the police. They don't want to put money in the prosecutor's office. They don't want to put money in the courts. Because that's where the Netherlands puts a lot of money. They put the money in the courts, the prosecutor's office, the RST, the Coast Guard, and the KMA, the Koninklijke Marechaussee. And because we are not doing the same, that's why they ain't really booking good results. Now, I think they're booking good results when it comes to catching drugs at sea. I think they're doing well there. I think they're doing a horrible job when it comes to keeping out undocumented people from our country. And then they're just telling, no, that's not my job. My job is border control, border management. But how did they get in? They didn't drop in with a parachute. They came through the borders. That's how they got here, no other way. So again, you know, we can look at it funny and say, yeah, but why are you picking on them? I ain't picking on them. I'm just telling you, I read the Dutch media every day. I read it so I can understand what's happening there too, so I can put it in comparison to what's happening to us here. And sometimes when they say ABC, then I know DEF is coming too. But you see, maybe the problem is also that the narrative that's always being sold, that we are so corrupt. Yes, we have made mistakes, and yes, we have corrupt people. All over the world has corrupt people, and all over the world they have made mistakes. But maybe the narrative that has been being sold, that we are oh so bad, might not be the truth. And that's why the bookings you want to make, you're not making. Look at the case of Benny C. Finger in Aruba. 5 years they wanted the man to go to jail for. They brought in a judge from Holland. You know what he gave the man? 1 year, of which 6 is conditional. So he went from a 5-year prison sentence to a 6 months prison sentence for handling or taking bribes with land dealings. 5 years, 6 months. You realize that the way they are asking for punishments here in the Dutch Caribbean is crazy. We are being lined up with punishments as if we are hardcore criminals. And yes, we want to talk about integrity and transparency. But when you have zombies in the courthouse and judges hear things that were never said, and I want to thank the witnesses, because I understood from my lawyers that when they went in my last hearings now, because my appeal court case has been set for September 4th, 2023, that all of them, not one of them or two, everybody contradicted what was said and said, that's not what happened. This is what happened. You see, that shows you then that sometimes there are agendas, and sometimes people that have a big mouth and people that are not afraid to stay quiet, or people that are willing to challenge those in authority, get themselves in problems. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I truly don't have an issue with being investigated. If I did something wrong, you do what you gotta do. But if I didn't do it, don't fabricate something to say I did it. Because let me quote a passage in the verdict that was reported in the Dutch media. What the courts is up against is the lack of clear rules for donations to politics. Mr. Moss is entirely dependent on generous donations because local parties are still not entitled to subsidy from the government. See, in Holland, the big parties, they get subsidies. Small parties, the local gemeenteraad, and so they don't get nothing. So, like down here, we don't get nothing. Everybody got to go look for their own donations. And we set rules, no more than 50,000 guilders from a business to the party, and no more than 20,000 guilders, I believe, from a business or a person to a candidate itself. The entrepreneurs in this case went into a gray area, but they are not the only ones, said the judge. The court finds that criminal law is not the solution to the lack of those rules. That's up to politics. The judge is very reluctant to rule on donations. Donors should not be deterred by the possibility of committing corruption, the court found, because they are an important and viability of especially local parties. Now, this is what the judge said. The judge also made another big statement in the case where he says the damage that was done to the democratic process of elected officials being pushed aside to manipulate the government's running is astronomical. And I'm sure the blamage from the prosecutor's office is nothing really compared to that. But the judge said that 2 days of a free boat rides are considered 2 fun days and not bribery. That there's no malintent for the 100,000 euro campaign funds granted to the party, and all donors were acquitted of those bribery charges. The politicians had no real power as they just got into power, so the chance of being bribed for something was way too small, and the prosecutor made way too big a deal of this matter. This is the judge's findings. This is not Bunkamper. You see, when you don't read the Dutch press, when you don't follow the Dutch media, you don't get these type of stories. But this was a big story. The Richard Moss story, Den Haag Leeft, was a big story. I am happy to see how it turned out. I have no fear with how my own will turn out come September. I saw another letter floating from the JVO, the Justice Ministers, and I just want to pull out one piece. There are a lot of pieces in there that I think needs a little more clarity by our Justice Minister, but I want to take the piece of the personal data protection. The countries of the kingdom are constantly taking steps in the cooperation to improve personal data protection regimes. An inter-country project group is working on a national law which aims to achieve a harmonized level of protection of personal data and police, judicial, and criminal data within the kingdom, the Caribbean part of the kingdom. As previously promised to the House of Representatives, the second chamber, it is busy preparing the legislative progress report of this committee for them. During the review that took place sometime back here, the draft legal text and the draft explanatory memorandum of the first chapter, and here it comes, of the consensus kingdom law was approved, and they agreed to continue work as outlined by the project group. When I was in Parliament, I attended a meeting in Simpson Bay Resorts, and I asked a few questions, and there were more MPs there, and the fundamental question was, why do we have to have a kingdom law? A consensus kingdom law to protect our data and put it in the hands of third parties? Why can't it be done on island? And the gentleman smiled. He didn't answer us. He did not answer us. On April 4th of this year, there was a letter of the Justice and Security Minister of the Netherlands to the second chamber. And everything I just said is mentioned there, that they are working on it. Now, if I can read this on the internet, I haven't heard it in Parliament. I haven't heard our Parliament ask a question about this. I can remember when I was there, I asked questions about it because I was against it. And I think the consensus was that we're going to stop consensus laws, because consensus laws are a form of recolonization of a country. Because I need to ask the Netherlands to get out of the consensus law. And that we should stop. We are in an autonomous country trying to make it done the right way by ourselves, instead of every time having to run back and ask if we can move on and get out of this. No, that's not how you grow up. That's not how you govern. So again, I'm saying this because I am baffled that our Minister of Justice is continuing with this consensus data protection law. But there's a lot more in this letter. I think when I read this letter, I said, oh, I hope the Minister of Justice in St. Maarten talks a little bit about it, because they talk basically in the deployment of the law enforcement about capacity questions, tackling organized subversive crime, administrative approach to subversive crimes, migration, human smuggling and human trafficking, and the application and sanctions of the detainees and the detentions. So again, I think there's a lot more that was said in that letter, in that review. I don't know if the minister came out and spoke about it, but I didn't hear it. So if she did, mea culpa, but I didn't hear it, so I'm still kind of up in the air with it. I'm going to go through it a little more, and I'm going to ask some questions. Now let me clear the air for everybody about my candidacy for the next election. I know that people were hoping that I wasn't going to run, and people were banking, because I had a conviction in first instance, that I cannot run. And they're selling that to people that have told me they're going to vote for me. They come and meet me, boy, this person said I can't run, and this. The Prime Minister, Wednesday gone, was asked a question by the reporter from the Daily Herald, Mrs. Fitzpatrick, Judy Fitzpatrick, if a suspended MP can run in the next election. And the Prime Minister's answers were as they are written in the Constitution, and clearly she got legal on it. Yes, he can. As long as he's not irrevocably convicted, he can. And I am not irrevocably convicted. I will be acquitted in my appeal. I am very sure of that. I'm very sure of that one now, especially with how things are going. But it now gives me the firm belief that I have been making a serious impact with my podcast. And that people are now wondering how they're going to tackle Bancampa. Bancampa is going to run. I have joined the Now Party. I've made that public since last year, October, when we had the launch of the party. And I'll tell you this much. We ain't running to beat nobody. We running to make a change for country Samaritan. A change where at least we will stand for what we believe in and we will say what has to be said. Sometimes not diplomatic enough, but we will say it. We will work for this country. I am putting myself on a political list to be elected. And all those that had hope that because I was convicted in first instance wouldn't be able to run, take a chill pill. Put your name on the ballot. We're going to meet in the arena. And the thing will be about the best man going to win. It is Bancampa going to win. A lot of people believe that in politics, you must be careful with your skeletons. My skeletons, they're out of my press already. Anybody that followed me in 2020 saw how I explained to the voting population the mistakes I had made in the past. I am not a hypocrite. I will not blame somebody for something if I am doing that. If I made mistakes, I man up to them. That's what I did. My skeletons that I know of have been publicly debated. Many of you that are going to meet me in this arena, man, your press ready to pop open. You know I'm going to pop them for you. I want you all to have a wonderful Monday. Go out tonight and support the youth extravaganza. Support the Creole Fete on Tuesday. Support our Calypso finals, because they're coming in there, are trying to surprise some people with what I want to do that night. So look out for the bunks, because the bunks going to be there. That's the one show I'm going till morning. I know how I make it, because around 12 o'clock is Cinderella time for me. I get sleepy, I want to go sleep. But I'm going to stay up for this one. Thursday is Noche Latina. That's my boy shoes going to be there for sure. That's the thing, boy. Friday, we got the Two Brothers Entertainment Concert. And then Saturday, is Night of the Hitmakers with Mr. Rude. That's going to be one great show. And then, Sunday, we got a King and Queen band competition. Monday, big parade. So that's Labor Day. Big parade. Tuesday is going to be my boy say he stayed home. And Tuesday, second day parade, and Wednesday we burn in the Momo. Come out, support the village. I know it's more expensive than it used to be. I have to agree to those comments. I saw those comments too, and I agree. But yeah, cost of living really went up, So we gotta really do we thing. In closing, people, because time to go now. Let's make any possible use we can of APS to enhance this country in a responsible manner. Minister of Finance, maybe you put a team together, get some people out of the business world, stakeholders, not just government people that see it from a different angle, see how we can really do something good. The The referendum, I don't know for who it is or what it is exactly. Let's wait and see. I'm not going to judge it right now. I want to wait and see where we're going with that and then where we're going to take it. Elections are coming. That is a fact. I only hope that we can get things done, like, for example, the single plastic use ban. 2 years ago, I think this thing was passed, and we still can't even get that implemented. Plastic bags all over the place. And I wish, and this is my last piece, I wish that Roxy Webster is allowed to participate in the Calypso finals. I know the criteria that were set seemingly were not clear or not clear enough. I think that song that young lady has is a powerful, powerful song. And sometimes in the Calypso finals, you want to have the best of the best on stage. Please share my podcast and also like and subscribe to my YouTube page. Have a great week ahead. Support the carnival. You're going to meet the bunks in there tonight again. Boot 21. You come down there, you'll normally see me hanging around there, helping out with the grill, drinking my Heineken 0.0 or my Coke Zero. Feel free to pass, we hit a chat, and we move on. All right? Take care. Bunks out. Love you all.